Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Game Junk Podcast, episode 203, recording on Tuesday, August 27th, 2024. My name is Frank.
My name is Sean.
And back from a bit of a hiatus. Sean and Andrew did an episode together. No Huck today. He's away on vacation, so still in the summer game season, although some pretty big releases have come out as of late. We will be talking about Star Wars Outlaws. Sean and I have both played that in early access, and also a bit of Black Myth Wukong, and also Concord, the new hero shooter from PlayStation, and some other games too. So lots of games to talk about. Sean, how you doing?
I am doing great. It feels great to be back doing this podcast. I felt like, I didn't know what was going on for a little while there. We're definitely on hiatus, but there's a lot of stuff coming out now, so yeah, I'm psyched.
I'll say, to sit back in this chair and do podcasting today, it felt like it had been a long time, and I gotta say, it feels good to be back, baby, and I'm excited to talk about all these games. Now, we've also had Gamescom opening night and a Nintendo Direct today, which we're not going to go over in detail. What we think big news story-wise from Gamescom we have to touch on is the Indiana Jones choo-choo, choo-choo, and what is it again? The Great Circle.
Yep.
Will be releasing, I believe, on the same day on Xbox and PlayStation. A game that or is it a delay, Sean?
There is a delay. I believe, let me double check, but I'm pretty sure they said early 2025 for
All right, so eventually coming to PlayStation, which to me immediately makes it less of a story, but it is interesting that a presumed Microsoft exclusive is already committed to coming to PlayStation down the road. So, Sean, is this a big deal or what? Are we just starved for news? What's going on?
I mean, I think it's a pretty big deal. Like, obviously, they did release, 3 games over the past couple months. Xbox released 3 games on PlayStation. I can't...
More than that, Pentiment. I think.
What's that?
Pentiment, Grounded, Sea of Thieves.
Oh, yeah. Hi-Fi Rush.
Hi-Fi Rush is another one. Yeah, I think there's...
Yeah, maybe there was more, but it was kind of like... So they announced those that they were coming, and that was like a big deal. But, none of those games were like sort of earth-shattering Xbox exclusives that it felt like they were giving up something huge. Indiana Jones does kind of feel that way. Now, obviously, there is...
Not for me.
I think it's going to be whether it's an amazing game or not, it's a big name. It's a big AAA game.
I think there's some aspect of it, like to us, it's a big deal. Like knowing that Microsoft could choose to keep that as an exclusive, but to most people, I think it would be a big deal if Halo all of a sudden was on PlayStation or Gears of War. I think most people won't even clue in that, Microsoft is in trouble if they're doing this. It's people who already know they're kind of in trouble. So I don't think, I think internally right now they're saying there's certain marquee franchises that until shit really hits the fan or we need money, they will never go on another platform. And this, to me, doesn't fall under that umbrella.
I agree. It's not at the level of a crown jewel like a Halo or Gears of War.
Crown jewel, great term.
But it is a game people like casual gamers will have heard of. And if they heard there's this new Indiana Jones game out and I want to play it, and then they look and it's like, oh, only on Xbox, it could have been something maybe that pulls people to that side.
Maybe. I don't think the game looked good enough personally. And I think they know reviews are going to be, I would say 8 at best, just my guess. But it's almost the reverse argument that we've talked about many times in the past of when in a showcase or previously at E3, when they have a game that's not exclusive and casual gamers sometimes assume it's exclusive without really knowing it or doing research. Like you're almost paying for, or I don't know if they pay for it, but you get a game at your show and you probably negotiate. It can't be in the other showcases and maybe use some money for that to make people think it's exclusive even though it's not. And I think this kind of falls under a reverse situation as to one of those showcases.
Yeah, fair enough. And I think it could be an indication that as you kind of hinted at, maybe the game isn't great and they know that, and they know, let's get it out there. Let's spread it around. It's not going to be, a system seller or something like that. It's possible, but it's also, they just acquired, well, I guess this is a Bethesda game, so it's not something they just acquired, but they have been going out and acquiring a lot of these publishers, and people have been assuming that that's so that they can now stockpile these amazing exclusive games where you have to come to Xbox to play them. But then that kind of backfired a little bit with the whole antitrust case or whatever.
Yeah, Starfield, Redfall. I think the real problem there is the games aren't amazing.
Well, yeah, there's that too. But I just mean, is it a case where they're trying to still prove to people that they don't have a monopoly? We're sharing these games on other platforms. We're not we didn't acquire these companies just to keep it to ourselves. Are they trying to prove that? Or, I mean, I believe that there was already a statement put out there that basically Xbox was given money and resources to acquire these companies, and now within Microsoft, they have a responsibility to pay that money back and to show some results immediately.
Maybe,
and that's part of it. So
I don't know. If we saw Halo on PlayStation, I'd say this is Phil being the guy that we are putting our games for all gamers everywhere. I think that's just a bit of a fallback excuse to put a silver lining on these clouds of the games not being all that good. We'll see when they put Starfield on PlayStation, or if they do. And that's the closest thing that they've had to an exclusive that would be a system seller potentially. And I'll believe that when I see something like that. And it can't be 2 years later or 3 years. It's got to be, nope, we have this great game and we're putting it out to all gamers right away. Otherwise, all that talk is bullshit. And if the games were good enough, they would keep them exclusive, and nothing anyone can say will convince me otherwise. So I think it's kind of cool. I probably won't play it on Xbox now, or it won't get, maybe I will. I mean, I feel like I'm going to have to weigh in on this game big time. So,
oh yeah,
I'll probably still shell out for a month of, I guess I still haven't canceled, which is, I got to do that. So now I just won't cancel. You got me, Xbox. Your marketing and monetary plan is working. I'm not canceling my Game Pass, and I'm not using it. Congratulations. You win.
I gotcha.
I skimmed through some of the Nintendo Direct stuff today. I have to say that Morsels game looked pretty intriguing visually. Yeah. I thought it looked really cool.
That looked cool. There were a couple others, like the one from the, oh crap, what's that game? It was early on. It was that the platformer that looks really beautiful, but it's not.
Oh, yes, from the makers of Gris, or
that's the one. Yeah. So whatever their new game is called,
Neva, I think Neva.
Yeah, looked pretty good. And there was maybe one or two other things in there, but it was definitely a lot of ports and games that were already out on Steam, maybe coming to Switch.
Yeah, I thought not that it's a big deal, but I've been playing Balatro a bit again, and some crossovers with some other indie games I thought was kind of cool, but not a big deal by any means.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that in terms of like kind of becoming this big trend for indie games where crossover DLC, sometimes with other indie games, but even now we're seeing like bigger franchises where it's like, they had the Castlevania DLC for Dead Cells, and there's been a few other examples of that where it's almost like companies are looking at indie games as a way to keep their IP alive in between their own releases.
Dave the Diver and Dredge had a shared crossover, and the thing that was the most interesting about Balatro to me was The Witcher 3 being one of the connections, which is not maybe it's indie. I think it was, it was published by Warner Brothers, I think, but I don't know for sure. So, it's a little different, a big game getting some indie material, but I guess Castlevania is pretty big as well for Dead Cells. So people are just realizing if you can get a little money out of some IP in any way, give it to indie developers and that already have an established game and work it in is a pretty viable way, like you said, to keep brand recognition alive. I don't know, even just uttering stuff like that makes me want to throw up in my mouth. Anything else from either of these two showcases that you think is worth mentioning or caught your eye? Plucky Squire September, which is kind of cool.
Yep, looking forward to that. The biggest trailers from Gamescom were probably Borderlands 4 and the new Mafia game, I think, but like not too much to say based on those trailers. It was. I feel bad that we're not going to give it the full rundown and give it the inevitable F report card it deserves, but I don't. We got other stuff to talk about, so.
Yeah, I mean, if we're really desperate next week, maybe we can circle back on some of this stuff if Huck has some thoughts. But other than that, there are some big game releases in the past week or so. So let's get into some of those. Number 1, Star Wars Outlaws, which technically releases to the public this Friday, August 30th. But if you pre-ordered the gold edition or higher, or you subscribe to Ubisoft Plus, you had access to this game at midnight on Tuesday the 27th. So I played about an hour or two of it so far. How much have you played, Sean?
Probably less than an hour. I tried to play last night, and there was a bit of a mix-up because tip for people who might be interested in the Ubisoft Plus thing in the future, technically you can't preload pre-download, pre-install games from Ubisoft Plus on Xbox. But there was, somebody had posted in a Reddit thread, there's like, if you go on the Xbox app, you can still search up the game and install it, which I did. It's
not the same one.
But it's not the same one. So then when it unlocked, it still wouldn't let me play it, and I had to re-download it again. So kind of annoying.
Surprisingly, not that big of a download. I think it's like 40 or 50 gigs, which is kind of telling in some ways to me. But I will say, if we're talking about problems, I definitely had a bug when I started last night where the main character's eyelids were flicking up and down constantly. Oh, really? Did you get that? No. And some other bugs, nothing major, but I got an email today from Ubisoft. Hello, Dirty Frank with 3 R's and Dirty. To experience the Outer Rim, we rolled out a maintenance to make sure everyone is playing the latest version of the game. As one of the players affected who had access to an older version of the game, we are aware you might be encountering some issues after this recent patch. We sincerely apologize for any inconvenience. And it's basically saying, make sure I update the game. And it looks like it can introduce progression blockers if you did not. So,
okay.
I only played an hour or so, and I'm going to be perfectly honest. I will not continue playing it. I wasted $140 or whatever. And I'll be very clear with this as well. It's not that the game is bad. I think it's pretty good what I've played so far. I really like how it's in widescreen, and I think it looks great. I love the look of the menus, and all the presentation elements are awesome. But this is the wrong game for me to play right now after playing Red Dead Redemption and Red Dead Redemption 2. And this is basically, as the IGN review stated, Red Dead Rebellion. It's a Red Dead version of Star Wars, would be the elevator pitch for this game. And I just don't think I can do it again right now. And especially after playing a game as immersive and complex as Red Dead Redemption 2, this game kind of falls somewhere in between 1 and 2. It's a little more fast and fun to play, but you start to notice like AI issues. And my biggest issue with the game so far is the dependence on stealth, but also it being really loose with the stealth. Like I started firing my gun by accident and I don't know how to truly engage in cover behind things, and I'm getting seen. And my problem with the game is that doesn't seem to matter. I seem to be able to get out of any situation without having to do too much and maybe being too easy. I'm not sure, but 2 hours in, I think it's good, not great, and probably going to be disappointing to most people who are excited for this game. What are your thoughts so far?
Yeah, so I mean, like, I don't know if I've fully played enough to give a good judgment of the game, but I can talk about, the first half hour, which definitely didn't hook me. Like it looked very nice. I thought it looked great, but then you kind of immediately are thrown into this situation where you're running around this kind of overwhelming city and like marketplace, and like really there's not that many people to talk to and interact with, but it feels like a lot. And then you're kind of told, okay, you got to go raise some money. So then you're like scavenging for parts just in garbage cans and stuff to try and get money, which.
So one element of that is they introduce you to your companion Nyx, that little creature from all the stuff we've seen. And you can send that creature to go grab things so that you don't have to go pick them up. But I had a bunch of times where it didn't even go to get it. It was faster for me just to walk and pick it up myself.
I think the very first time I saw a prompt for that, I hit it and nothing happened. And I was like, okay, is it just telling me I can do this? Or is this a specific situation where I can? I don't understand. So,
I mean, you have to use Nyx to pickpocket people, which is required in that opening section. But again, it just seemed like going through 2 steps instead of 1, and those 2 steps aren't necessarily more fun. Even the hacking mini game I found to be a little hard to understand if I was doing it right or not. And even with a visual aid, I don't think it's all that great, but it looks good. Like there's so much potential here that just to be perfect, like to kind of sum it up, I feel like this game could use another 2 or 3 months of work.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a feeling of that. I have been reading a lot about bugs. I haven't encountered too many so far myself, but that mini game thing was weird. Like it's kind of a rhythm based thing, but as I've been finding, delving back into Rock Band, modern TVs, there's issues with that where it's like you're hearing the sound, but then you're seeing the thing light up at a different time, and I'm like, should I have some kind of calibration just for this mini game here? And I mean, I eventually got past it and it wasn't too bad, but yeah, and then it's just, a lot of walking around, talking to people. And as you mentioned, like once you kind of get into situations where you're encountering enemies, you basically have the choice of stealth or combat. And, I'm not like stealth, I like in theory, but then as soon as something goes wrong, it's kind of like, well, first of all, if it's a stealth game where you fail immediately, that's frustrating as hell. But if, they let you kind of roll with it, I prefer that. But then eventually, like you said, you just start realizing, why am I even trying to stealth it? I'll just kill everyone.
Yeah. And that's basically what you end up doing for 70% of the missions in Red Dead, unless they tell you can't get caught. And the way they mix it up is they really play around with the presentation and surrounding elements. Like I just did a really cool mission in Red Dead 2 where you're in a hot air balloon, or you like the location is changed and circumstances are changing in a way, even visually, that make it more intriguing. And I just don't know if this game is going to have the visual variety and circumstance variety to make shooting that much fun for the entire duration of the game. I know I sound like a hypocrite when I say shooting is the most fun and tried and true mechanic in games, but I also have played about 150 hours of Red Dead in the last 2 months, and I'm just not in the mood for it right now. So it's just unfortunate timing for this game for me, and I hope to revisit it towards the end of the year. I just don't think I can do it right now. Like another Red Dead like back to back. I'm out.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't seeing those parallels myself just because, hadn't really played Red Dead in a while. But
wait till you get to the scooter mission coming up, and they basically have a Deadeye.
Oh yeah, okay.
Meter as well. So it's exactly like Red Dead.
But I guess like I was hoping for something more along the lines of like Starfield, and it doesn't have that feel. Like I've been reading some reviews saying that the exploration is really rewarding, and that's something I like in games. And but so far it doesn't feel that way. Like it doesn't feel like there's a lot of stuff to discover. It kind of feels like it's just telling you exactly where to go. And it's like a lot of the Ubisoft stuff where it's just sort of like checklists of points on a map you got to go to. And
now I'm not going to be too critical of the game yet because I haven't played that much, but where I stopped, I was finally in an open area. So that initial planet really is intended to play very linear. And I found myself, if I didn't know this was linear, I would get lost in this area for sure. Like everything kind of looks the same. And especially trying to work your way through air ducts and some of that stuff. Like I was just, if it wasn't an orchestrated path and I kind of knew I was doing the right thing, I would be very disoriented and not really sure what to do. So, I think that's manageable for the opening planet. And, you know, once you're out on the speeder, I think the game is going to get better. So, I should give it a little more of a shot before I shut it down for now, just so it doesn't seem like because I think it does have potential, but it's being patched constantly. So I might as well wait a couple weeks until they iron out some of the issues, especially if I'm not dying to play it right now.
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely going to give it more time, especially at least until, you know, Astrobot comes out. But, yeah, I did like, so I assumed like you get a map at some point, right? Like that was even early on.
Yeah. I was
getting lost and there was no map, but,
I will say the environments do look good though. Like they feel like Star Wars. All of these companies, since the Jedi game Survivor and Fallen Order, like game companies with resources are very good at recreating the feeling of Star Wars. And this game does that just as good as those games did. It's just gameplay, I don't think, not as much fun or just not suited as much to the type of games that I like to play.
Yeah. And, you know, seemed like it's when reviews came out and they were kind of like, what, like 70s mostly, it seemed like.
The Metacritic is a 77, which feels about right to me.
Yeah, I was ready to be like, no, people are just harsh on Ubisoft, but I'm going to embrace this. And I was excited. And now I'm like, okay, I kind of see it even from just the little bit I've played. But yes, I will give it more time, probably report back in the near future.
Comparing it to other AAA action games, which I think is a fair comparison here, where I noticed the biggest drop-off so far, number one, performances. Like the acting performances, specifically of secondary characters and some other things. Like there's a very similar relationship to Aloy and Roost at the beginning of Zero Dawn, and also similar to the Cal Kestis, and I can't remember the character's name, at the beginning of Fallen Order. And it fails to match the storytelling levels of those for sure. So it just feels a little rough around the edges. Performance and not presentation polish. The presentation's amazing. Like menus, HUD are all great, but the like gameplay polish is a little lacking. Like I'm noticing a lot of strange transitions with animations and funky IK when you're climbing things, and it just doesn't feel like the polish level of other AAA games to me. Not that that's the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, the other random observation is I don't know what the control scheme is for everything, but I found like that first half hour, 45 minutes, I was hitting R2, clicking in the R2 button for everything. And I was like, I'm not using any other buttons on the controller. What is going on here?
I kind of like that. I thought that was a good button for interact. But again, another reason why I can't play it, Red Dead 2 has a completely different interaction scheme. So I'm like, I cannot go back and forth between these games. So my goal is to finish, let me rewind that. My solemn vow is to have beaten Red Dead 2 before the next episode of Game Junk, and then I can move on to some stuff from this year. There is no way I'm 100%ing Red Dead 2. Not a chance.
Are you, like, how far do you think you are in the main story?
I'm in chapter 6, which is the last chapter, and I think there's 2 epilogues or something like that, so I'm getting pretty close.
Nice.
There are some really cool missions though, like that hot air. You didn't make it to the hot air balloon mission, did you?
I don't think so.
Pretty cool. Not like that much fun, but very cool. Which is sometimes enough. It doesn't like it just it's enough of a spin on things to like, okay, I'm shooting things, but there's a bit of a twist. And so they're really good at that in that game. I don't have much else to say for Outlaws. I think that's it.
I don't want to get too far down that road, and you know, I want to experience more of the game, but it's not quite as good as I was hoping I would be hooked already, but I'm not.
Yeah, I thought I was going to be hooked in the first 10 minutes, and then when I was running around that town looking for credits, I was like, okay, I'm not hooked. And I made my decision right then. But there were some technical glitches too when you get to the open world, like pop in on grass and stuff. So kind of feels like a game that was originally developed for PS4 and then moved to next gen consoles would be my gut.
Okay.
But we'll see. So that's it for Star Wars Outlaws. More to come.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The next game I'm going to talk about is Concord, which not a lot of people seem to be enjoying. I think there was some reports like 700-ish concurrent players when it released on Steam. And, you know, it might be the blue haze talking, but I'm really enjoying Concord. And I played Overwatch when it came out, never played Valorant. What's the other? Like, not much Apex have I played, but this is a perfect scenario for me. I love PlayStation, the brand PlayStation, and I want to get on the ground floor of something, which that's 2 checkboxes on my list. Now, the game would still have to be good for that to happen, but I think it's pretty good. I love the polish on this game. Like, all of the space theme stuff, the menus, feels like it's made for me. It's very digestible. The job system, like I go to Call of Duty now and there's so many things unlocking and level up this and do this. And I'm overwhelmed immediately. This is a little stripped down, kind of like Helldivers to me. It's like a more accessible, easy to digest hero shooter to get into. And I suck at it and I still want to keep playing it. Like, I'm terrible. Some games I don't even get a single elimination. I'm like, what is going on? But I still really enjoy the presentation, the music, the stingers with the sounds that it uses in and out of matches. Like, I don't know. I think it's not getting a fair shake. I know that there's like some anti-woke stuff going on with this game as well, which I think is like not even so much about the character roster, but like pronouns beside characters' names, I think, which I think that is part of it. But I kind of like that seems, when you see the roster of characters, it kind of makes sense in this like weird like space scenario with all these different races. And I don't know, I kind of like it. I kind of like everything about it. The character models, I think, are phenomenal. When you pick a character in between rounds or deaths, I think those character models are amazing. And I don't know, it's hitting a lot of sweet spots for me. So I'm probably going to be like Halo Infinite. I'm going to keep playing this game every week until I miss something some week because I'm away on vacation. This game might just make me buy a PlayStation Portal so that I can get my stuff in for a week when I'm away. But I really enjoy it. And I don't think it's amazing. People are saying it should be free to play. I get that, but like $40, come on. Like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, I mean, especially after like Helldivers 2, you know, came out and cost money and people embraced it. Like, I'm not exactly sure what the problem is either. I think it is the hero shooter market feels like people are very cynical when someone comes along and tries to throw out a competitor. And I'm going to talk about a competitor to this in a second, but you gotta have, there's only a few companies that can do it. And, you know, for some reason, people are not really letting Sony throw their hat in the ring, but it does feel like it should have at least been a PlayStation Plus game.
I agree with that. And it probably will be soon. But they probably couldn't because of the PC launch. If they did that, then people would really like.
Yeah, that's true.
That's got to be a factor. But I just hope it gets a little bit of legs at some point because I want it to do well. And I like the feel. It's a bunch of Bungie devs, I think, that had left Bungie, so it feels weighty like Halo, and I like the feel of it. I just got to get good, I suck right now. And there's some intricacies to rules, but I've been putting in a couple hours in every day, and I'm going to do my daily stuff as soon as we finish recording here.
Is it like, in terms of the actual matches, is it just like capturing territory or flags?
2 territory modes, and then deathmatch and like the equivalent of like dog tags. You have to claim a token when you get a kill versus just kill someone. And then a search and destroy. The other 2 modes are like when you're dead, you're dead. It's like Counter-Strike kind of thing. So nothing new really with that stuff. I think that's a valid criticism of the game. Like if you're committed to a hero shooter already, there's no need necessarily to play this unless you think the aesthetics are cool, which I do. But I don't have a hero shooter that I'm dedicated to, and I kind of think this could be the one, as they say. So if anyone's playing, get on the Discord, youtube.com/GameJunk. Discord links there. I need a squad. Just like Dustin makes me good at Helldivers. I need someone to get me good at Concord that I can get some assists. Because I suck. I'm so bad at this game. And usually I don't want to keep playing games I suck at, but I am force-feeding the shit out of Concord. So why don't you say the competitor you've been playing?
Sure, yeah. So we did talk a couple weeks ago about this mysterious Valve game that's been out there that's had hundreds of, I guess thousands of people on Steam playing, but nobody knew what it was, and it hadn't been officially announced. And then a few people actually reached out to us after that episode and said, "Hey, do you want an invite?"
Yeah,
so they hooked us up with invites to this game, which has now been officially announced, I believe. Pretty sure. It's called Deadlock, and it's still like in this invite only mode, but it's really interesting how they've I can't remember. I just saw, where is it? Like, I don't know. There was some crazy number of people that are playing it now, like in the past week. Like it's just like gone exponential. And basically, yeah, anybody who has the game now can invite anybody else on their Steam friend list. So I think it's just kind of propagating that way. But I didn't play too much of it, and really these aren't my kind of games, but I watched Kieran play a bit of it because he's kind of played Overwatch a bit, and he's kind of just more into this type of thing. And it is, okay, first of all, I don't know what the difference between a MOBA and a hero shooter is. I think it's a bit of both. I thought MOBA was more like top-down, like League of Legends style games.
I think the MOBA elements, like, it's usually a more action-based, like, real-time strategy game, right? Now, they've hybridized, I think, mostly the idea of the 3 paths, like the different channels, and how they, like, there's a territory. I'm assuming it incorporates kind of the territory elements, or like the tower of the other side you have to destroy to win.
Yeah, so it's a hero shooter in the sense that you have set characters that you choose from. But I believe this stuff comes more from the MOBA, which is there's like lanes that are, I don't know what they call it. They're like these
lanes.
Like,
that's the term I was looking for. Yeah.
Yeah. There's like these zip lines you kind of hold on to, and they like take you down a certain lane. And then it's both PvP and PvE, right? So I think that's more of a MOBA thing. Like there are like, sort of like minions or whatever you call it that you have to fight along the way. And then eventually you work your way to the opposing team's golem, which is kind of like their final boss. And if you beat that, then you win. But the thing that I thought was cool is that I would say the art style and like the characters and the just the world seems very inspired by like Hellboy. I would bet that's like their number one influence. It's kind of like occult, demonic stuff with sort of like I guess like I think it says like a 30s prohibition era style, like then some steampunk tech type stuff. Like one of the characters definitely looks like Hellboy but blue, and like there's other characters that just heavily remind me of Hellboy. So, I mean, if you're a fan of Hellboy and you like these kind of games, you definitely should check it out. But
I mean, it seems like it's got some similarities, character design at least, to Team Fortress.
Yeah, I could see that a bit too.
It looks cool though. I haven't played it yet. I downloaded it. I haven't had a chance to play.
I mean, I don't know, other than like that kind of merging of hero shooter and MOBA stuff, I'm not entirely sure what else is kind of unique about it, but it does feel like just the fact that it's Valve and they don't put out games very often, and you know, they've got all this hype building up for it now. Like when it does officially release, this could become the next big thing, and something like Concord will probably be left in the dust. But
yeah, that's why we need Team Blue Haze to fully support and commit to Concord for the rest of their lives, which is what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
Why don't you mention the other Valve game that you completed?
Sure. I can say I finished Half-Life Alyx, finally scratched that one off the old list of shame. And I mean, it's definitely like the best VR game, hands down. Like it's so good. But there's nothing else at that level. Like I'm dying to play something else that's like this now, and there's not much.
And you did Vertigo. It with the PSVR 2?
Yes. So PSVR 2 on the PC with the new adapter.
Which I acquired today.
You did?
Yeah.
Nice. So was it hard to get? Or
I think they've released a bunch more. They had like 3 in stock at Best Buy today. And when I picked it up, I ordered online and picked up there. The woman said, this thing's pretty popular, which I was surprised to hear.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what kind of supply they have of it, but there is definitely demand. So, but yeah, like some people, you know, I talked about this, you know, the last show. I didn't really have too many issues. I had a little bit of a blurriness issue, which I've kind of pinpointed as just, I got to fit the PSVR 2 in just the right spot. Like it feels even more precise than when you're playing on the PS5. I don't know why, but some people have had big issues with like the Bluetooth pairing. I know a lot of people had to go out and buy like an actual new Bluetooth card for their computers, but I had no issue with that. And yeah, it's just like, again, I went back and played a little bit on the Quest to compare, and it's just like it looks so much better on the PSVR 2. Yeah, it's nice. It's a huge difference. So, but yeah, I really enjoyed the game. I think this is another thing I just heard about. Like, supposedly there is a Half-Life Alyx follow-up in the works, but it was going to be a VR game, and now they've said it's not VR. They've transitioned away from that. So I don't know what the deal is, but yeah, I'm kind of just, if anyone has recommendations, I don't know how many VR heads we have listening, but like Vertigo 2, I still need to beat. It was a little bit buggy last time I played it. That's kind of, you know, kind of comparable to Half-Life Alyx, not nearly as polished, but yeah, it's just, you know, some really interesting, you know, control stuff they do with VR. The final level does some really cool stuff with gravity. But it's a bit jumpy, Frank.
I've heard.
There's some jumpiness.
I'm out. Never playing this game. Is that it for Half-Life Alyx?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Black Myth Wukong, which released last week. I put about 2 hours, I would say, into this game. Kind of torn on this one. It starts off really strong, this epic kind of story and fight. The combat is pretty good so far. There's no block, which I love. I don't know if you get a block later, but I'm so sick of blocking in games. I I would rather everything is more offensive or dodge focused, which this is so far. So I really like the combat, which is the most important thing. And this is the negative part, though. As impressive as it is visually, it's kind of the same problem we had with Outlaws, only worse. Which the first area I'm in, it's so repetitive looking. Like this forest. Now, a lot of the criticisms are that the game is too linear, and I can see that criticism, but it's just open enough that I get like lost in a circle. And half of the time, like you go to a ledge and you can look down somewhere and you can't jump down. So it's like, there's like invisible walls basically. And I find myself some invisible walls I'm meant to go through and other ones I'm not. And you kind of do this leaning over a ledge animation. And I find I'm doing this all the time. And it's not obvious to me what's explorable and what isn't. And it just makes me do like this trial and error of, can I go here? Can't I? And kind of reminds me a lot of Alan Wake 2, that original forest of just not having enough landmarks and like iconic areas that I can reorient myself and know exactly where I am. Like the level design and environment, like decoration is causing the most problems, to the point where I wish they just would have rock faces. I'd rather know I can't go somewhere than to give the illusion of like a full rich forest. Like I don't care if it's linear, but don't make me test to find out that it's linear. That's the bigger problem, but it's pretty good so far. I feel like once I beat Red Dead 2, Black Myth will be the game I come back to and play before Outlaws. But like you said, hopefully I can finish Black Myth before Astrobot, because that is the game to play. And I'm hearing a lot of people are excited for that game. I think that game is going to do really well. You can't buy the controller anywhere.
Really?
Oh, it's very popular. Yeah.
I mean, my kids have been replaying the last Astrobot game. They're back in. I don't know how.
Yeah, I got some. Your time has been beat on one of those.
Oh yeah,
levels.
Yeah,
I was getting a bunch of those.
The time trial stuff.
So, but I liked Black Myth. Looks great. I don't know. It's a little buggy as well. It feels like I'll benefit from waiting 2 weeks and for 2 more patches for this. Just such a common thing. Like, it sucks when you get to the point where you're like, I want to play this, but I'd be better off waiting to play it, which is kind of annoying.
Yeah, I mean, they want people to be buying and playing these games right away at launch, and then they give you a lot of reasons not to do that. So
yeah, and I'm kind of I'll always do it because I'm a sucker and we do this podcast. But if I wasn't and didn't, I would not buy these games right away anymore. If the podcast didn't exist.
Like the visuals for Black Myth, I mean, like you said, it looks good, but like that seemed like a pretty huge selling point of this game. Like the trailers looked amazing.
Yeah, I guess the first area is not blowing me away, but the first boss I fought looked amazing. Like it's got really cool looking enemies and bosses, and it's not that hard, which I like. It's pretty reasonable so far, which is a reason why I want to return to it. It's not super frustrating. So, yeah, I like it quite a bit. Only played a limited amount though. So just wanted to get a couple hours into each of these games for the podcast. And I'd say I played the most of Concord. I'm probably 5 or 6 hours of Concord playtime at this point. And nice. I want to play it as soon as we're done this, which is a pretty good sign.
Okay, so one other thing I will mention, which I think you played a bit of as well, but I actually finished Thank Goodness You're Here, which is a pretty short game.
Okay, I might return to it then. I've played it for about an hour and a half, I'd say.
You're probably very close to the end.
Really?
Like it's like 2 to 3 hour long game. But this thing came out. I mean, I had played the demo originally, and I was looking forward to it. And then it came out, and the reviews were like amazing. Like this is like a 90 or something on Metacritic, which, you know, I hate to like focus in on review scores or whatever, but I'm curious why.
Yeah, I felt the same way.
It's a fun game, and it is kind of refreshing and different, and it's funny, but like, is that the reason? Because like,
it's weird, it's wacky.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, the puzzles are the disappointing part to me, where they're kind of random and linear, and I don't really feel like I'm actually solving anything when I solve a puzzle. It's just explore until I punch the right thing, which is fine. Yeah. It's creative, but it's not that. I wasn't laughing that hard. I think the humor is a big draw to it. I think the presentation is awesome as well. Like, I really think the cartoon visuals are great, and I love the integration of like the real life menus and like the pause menu and the opening menu. Yeah. I love that stuff. So presentation, it's a 10 out of 10, but gameplay, it's probably like a 6 or a 7 for me.
Yeah. It's not like, really all you're doing is you're walking around this town of quirky, strange townsfolk. And I mean, it's called Thank Goodness You're Here, because you keep stumbling across people who say that and need your help with something. But all you can do is walk around and slap things, basically. And so there's not a lot of, like, if you don't know what you're trying to do, just start slapping everything in the room. Eventually you'll figure it out. Like, it's not that hard.
Yeah. If you contrast that to like Golden Idol, where you have to deduce and figure things out, or even an old LucasArts game, it's closer to that. But even then you would have to backtrack and experiment a bit and hold on to things. It is visually very cool though.
Yeah. And so that's definitely the reason I would recommend it. But I mean, yeah, it's a short game. It's not, puzzle wise, there's not too much there. And like, I did find I was getting lost a bit, like that there's different sections of the town, and at some point they kind of open up and all the connections between them are open, but you still have to kind of move between them. And I did not always know where I was trying to get to. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely unique, and I enjoyed it. It's probably not going to be like a top 10 list game for me personally.
Knowing that it's short, I will revisit it. I don't know. I wasn't finding it all that funny, but I wasn't in the best mood either, so I will give it another shot. Same with the Ranger. I stopped a Ranger because I got like a soft lock bug that was an issue with the game about an hour in, and I was pissed. And you said there was a patch, but only on Steam. The PlayStation patch didn't come out for another like 2 weeks. So I uploaded it, or I started it up last night, and I'm like, oh, it's fixed. The path opened up that should have opened up that didn't for me. I'm like, I don't really remember where I was in this game, so I have to start over anyway. And that just left a bad taste in my mouth. And I am not going to play it for a while.
I think I'm like 75% through that game, so I'm going to try and finish that somewhere in there too. And I am enjoying it, but I mean, yeah, what can you do? Soft lock bugs are the worst. So
it's pretty bad. And it was a major soft lock, like not even like restart the game or go talk to someone again. And I tried everything, leaving the area, coming back. I like probably spent an hour trying to get past it. And now I'm getting bitter just talking about it. So I'm done.
Okay.
I think that's it.
Is that it?
Is it? I don't know. I don't have anything else.
I mean, the only other thing I'll mention, there is a video on the Film Junk Patreon. Jay and I played a bit of the new Funko Fusion demo, which, if you don't know what Funko is, these little collectible toys. The game is kind of comparable to Lego Dimensions, where it's just all these different IPs thrown into one universe, and you can play as characters from your favorite movies and TV shows. And it's kind of just this weird mashup, pop culture mashup. And the game was, I mean, the video had some issues, which were partially from my shortcomings, but it also felt weirdly like same complaint I've had about a lot of Lego games, where it's like, this is kind of for kids, and yet the puzzles and stuff are super confusing at times. Like, it should be simple and obvious, and it's not. So there was a bit of that going on, and it just, the level that they put in the demo is for John Carpenter's The Thing. And I don't even really know what I was trying to accomplish other than collecting these crown things. it just felt very open, like just run around, explore, break things, and I don't know what else I was trying to do. So I don't know. I was kind of not that impressed with it. I was thinking originally I would probably still pick it up, but then I looked and it is actually a full price game. I thought it was like $50, and I think maybe it is only on Steam, but on console and stuff, it's like
what's it called?
Price, so what's that?
What's it called again?
Funko Fusion.
Funko Fusion, $64.99 in Canada.
On Steam?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ooh.
so I think it's like $79 on PlayStation.
Nice. Looks good. It looks real good.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, and the other thing too, like I thought it would be a fun game to play, maybe some local co-op with the kids, but it's online co-op only. So
it is pretty cool. Like the properties they actually include, like Nope, Jaws.
Yeah, it's like such a weird collection of stuff.
Hot Fuzz.
Like, that's kind of what I like about it. Like, you know, it's like on the one hand, it's like a IP monstrosity, however you want to call it, but
so is Funko.
It's interesting. Yeah,
Funko's an IP monstrosity. When are we going to get the Disney Vinylmation game? Oh, and please soon.
Oh yeah, that'll be coming.
All right, I think that's it for me. I thought I had more to talk about, but we'll see.
No, I mean, I think we covered a lot of big new releases, so there's going to be more to come.
Wish I had more time with some of these games, but that's the way it goes. We will have more. Any big releases this week? Just Outlaws, which we've already talked about. So maybe some more. And yeah, check us out at youtube.com/GameJunk for the video feed. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.